Well, good morning. It is morning, it's not evening. It's early on Wednesday morning at 12:20 a.m. I did say I'd do a live when I got back from Bromley, so I'm going to stick to my word. And there's probably going to be no one watching this live because everyone's tucked up in bed. Unless you're still raging about Town tonight and Town's defeat away at Bromley in the Carabao Cup. If you are watching, get involved in the comments. But if you're watching back on catch up, please hit the like button. We go for 125 likes on this video. Please subscribe and please turn on them notifications. So when we're live, normal hours, not at the crack of midnight, you can get involved in the comments. But we're also sponsored by Bad Shirt Club. You know all that. Head over to the website. Use the code TSC30 to get 30% off at the checkout. But yeah, I thought I'm going to jump on. Busy day Wednesday later on today, so I won't really have time to do a match sort of reaction video. What can we say about that, people? We headed to Bromley tonight. What a great setup, I must admit, down there. We got down there pretty early, about 5:45. And obviously I had tickets in the home end tonight because we only had, just over 497, I think, to be precise. So I've missed out. I didn't even try because I was on 30 points and it was 31. And I thought I probably won't get them. So we're in the Bromley end, undercover in my wonderful Dalian Atkinson t-shirt. What a player he was for Town. What a player he was for a lot of clubs. And very sad what happened to Dalian. But yeah, we got there. We went in their bar area, which was joining on to sort of where we sat behind the goal. Brilliant facility. I mean, you got all the TVs up on the wall. They got the bar. They got your food you can order. Town really need to look into something like an indoor fan zone at Portman Road. And it's probably in the pipeline, but something like that indoors on a bigger scale, I think would be absolutely fantastic and a big money spinner for the club. So we went in there and then we obviously went to the game, sat behind the goal, same end as the Town fans, but they were over in the corner. And yeah, Town lined up with Christian Walton in goal, Cedric Keepray and Luke Wolfenden were the two centre-backs, with Ashley Young right back. Leif Davis, a bit surprisingly, was left back. Two in midfield, two young academy lads, Cam Humphreys and Finn Barbrook, who was making his debut, and I thought he was pretty decent tonight. Ahead of them, Chidozie Egbone on the right, Chappers in the 10, Jack Clark with his big shorts on the left, and then Ali Al-Hamidi up front. And it was a bit sort of, first half, Town had quite a lot of the ball, moved the ball too slowly. I'd say it was just pretty nothingness the first half, not a lot happening. We had one or two efforts on goal. Chaplin flashed one over the bar. I think Ali had one, went round the keeper, probably should have had a shot, tried to square it. Bonnet had one where he probably should have done better, but heading into 45th minute, you're probably thinking, good evening, Simon Edwards. Good evening, Silky Love Rider. How are you doing? And anyone else who's in the live chat, come and get involved. Get involved. If you're a Town fan, you're just a football fan. We don't like football tonight because we've lost to Bromley, embarrassingly, again. But yeah, heading into half-time, 45 minutes, I'm thinking, yeah, not a great half. We go in at 0-0. HCH, I was in the home end, opposite the away end. Al-Hamidi never looked confident approaching his penalty, but looked really suspect at the moment. And then Bromley had a set piece, come to the far post. Christian Walton's never getting the ball. Tries to go for the ball and gets headed back by, I think it's Shawumni, who used to be at Town Academy, to the other centre half. He nods it in. Fly, go away. Kiprey on the line, tries his best, can't head it away. Just goes into the roof of the net. 1-0 down at half time. Then I heard that there was a plumbing problem in the away dressing room, so Town had to do the half-term time team talk on the bus or somewhere near the bus. I mean, plumbing problem in the dressing room. The first half was shit. Make your own conclusions out of that, lads and lasses. But yeah, come out second half. Leaf went off at half time. Ben Johnson came on. Town got the equaliser, I think about 10, 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes into the second half. A cross in from, I think there's a Bonnie cut back. Chappers has a shot, hits the bar. Good save by the keeper. Ben Johnson done really well there following up, and it was 1-1. Joe S. Cruncher, are you concerned? To me, looks like a lot of this group aren't together. Added to that, Ashton needs to pull his finger out. We've known Delap was going since March. I'll get onto that in a minute at the end. I'll just do a quick review of the game and then sort of some thoughts, Joe. So hang around. And then really, look, Town had more than enough chances to probably win the game. Their keeper done a really good tip over from Ben Johnson, who for me, he was Town's man of the match when he came on that second half. And he was our biggest goal threat. He scored one, had a shot tipped over, had another shot. Smollick's had a chance when I think he takes a touch there and he probably passes it into the goal, takes it first time and hits it, and it's a good eye for the keeper. He does well, saves it, and then one right at the end. Al Hamady at the back post, put your foot through it. It's just summed him up. And then I think they had a good chance down the other end right at the end, and then it's just gone wide. I think there was a save in there from Walton before that. A couple of times they broke away. There was one really good challenge by Finn Barbrook when I think they broke from our corner. Last-ditch tackle, he's done really well. So, and then obviously the game's gone to penalties. George Hurst has missed the first one. Didn't have a great view of that because where we were sitting, obviously, where the players had stood, couldn't really see, so we moved to the corner flag. Yeah, Hurst had missed. Then Walton saved, I think, their second one. So then we had, who was taking them? Ashley Young took a good one. Ben Johnson took a good one. Connor Chaplin took a good one. Who else was on there? I can't even remember. I can't even remember. It's gone out of my brain. It's too late. And then obviously it went to sudden death. Ali Al Hamady. Oh my God. He has now taken 4 penalty kicks for Town. And he has missed 3. At least he got it on target this time. Unlike the Bristol Rovers effort where he put it wide. But yeah, telegraphed it to the keeper's left, saved it. And they scored the next penalty and they went through. Look, it was probably, I would say, Bromley's biggest victory, biggest scalp since they've become a Football League club. It's their first ever win in the trophy. Look, congratulations to them. I thought really good setup down there. Obviously building a new stand. Pitch looked absolutely immaculate. Ed Sheeran was there tonight. Mark White, Dorking Wanderers manager, he was there. Joe says you just knew poor old Ali would miss. He shouldn't be playing for the club, pushing for promotion in the Championship. Not sure if it is his fault or ours. George says utter disgrace. If Kieran McKenna doesn't get us promoted this season, he needs gone. Highest wage bill in the Championship. Rock the Gorilla, still awake. How does a Town fan sleep after this latest failure? Well, like I said, I did say I was going to do a live. Driving home, I'm thinking, But you got to keep your word. I was only going to do about 10 minutes, but I'm still here. And I'm still just about finished talking about the game. So summing up, am I surprised we've lost to Bromley in the Carabao Cup? Not really. Add it to the games. I remember Carlisle in about 2012 under Mick. And all the way to Carlisle, they scored a last-minute equaliser, lost in extra time. I went to Crawley away, we lost. We've lost to Colchester at home. We lost last season at AFC Wimbledon on penalties. We lost to Bromley. We've lost to Maidstone. I mean, the list is endless of Town failing to put lower league opposition away. We should have had more than enough on the pitch there tonight. I know we've made 7, 8 changes. They made 7 changes. So you could say that was nearly a Bromley reserve team. And we've been embarrassed. A lot of people say it's just the cup. It doesn't really matter. Well, we are not used to winning games of football at the minute. And until we can buck that trend and get some winning momentum, I think it's not great. It is Bromley reserves, Joe says. Well, there you go. Look, it's not great for Town. It's not great for confidence. And I want to go back to Joe's comment. He said, am I concerned? To me, it looks like a lot of this group aren't together yet. So when you look at what we had, and I know we don't want to hark back and times move on, what we had in that promotion squad, the back-to-back promotions, it was the band of brothers. It was together. We're all into it. Everyone's as one. You know, we're all pulling in the same direction. At the minute, and I know it's only 2 games in to the season, and I know as football fans, there he is, door on tour. Is Amari Hutchinson coming to Forest? We'll get on to Amari in a minute, but how much are you going to bid for him? That is the first question. Just have a little glass of milk. Good evening, Chris. From northwest Minnesota, thoroughly miserable here after an appalling performance. Something isn't right at the club at the moment. Well, yeah, I was just getting onto that, saying about like the back-to-back promotions. We had such a great team spirit, and that literally got pulled apart last summer when we spent, or last season, we spent 150 million. You on that, not getting him for less than 35 million, I'm afraid, if you want him at Forest. We had a 35 million clause. That's gone now. So we'll get on to Amari in a minute. So team spirit, it's hard at the minute to say, you know, something's not right, and we're getting on to Amari. He's coming. No Broadhead either. He was ill tonight. It's definitely gone out the window. Driving home tonight, I got a message from a certain player's dad talking about Nathan Broadhead, letting him leave. And I think if you look at Broadhead, I don't want to just signal Broadhead out, but you think Nathan Broadhead and Jack Clark. Now, Jack Clark's been at the club for a season. Broadhead's been there. He was in League One, Championship, Premier League. He's got a lot of credit in the bank with Town fans, you know. And Jack Clark hasn't got a lot of credit in the bank with Town fans because we signed him for a lot of money last summer, and he hasn't really pulled up trees at the minute, has he? So he's getting a lot of stick on the socials tonight. It seemed it was him and Ali. And there's always going to be a fall guy, you know. There's always going to be a scapegoat, probably. And Jack Clark at the minute, he hasn't really impressed against Birmingham when it was a real tough away game. Yeah. But then you go to Bromley tonight, and he hasn't really stood out there. So a lot of question marks about Jack Clark. It looks like Broadhead's going to be sold. You know, he was ill. I'm not going down the Omari route that he wasn't ill, because I think Broadhead, look, he's turned up. He came on at Birmingham. He's going to go. But should we be letting Nathan Broadhead go? I probably think it's a business decision that he's nearly 27. He's not going to get a 3-year contract. Chris says, I think Sunderland must have built the team around Clark. He looks lost in a blue shirt. He looks devoid of confidence. You know, I'm not sure that he knows his role that he's playing at the minute. But we just got to stick with Jack Clark. I think he's a really good footballer. I'm a massive Jack Clark fan, but you have to earn your place in the team. And at the minute, he's not looking like the Jack Clark that played for Sunderland. Lewis says, the Amari situation is angering a lot of fans. Surely the club won't pay him a penny for breaching his contract. It doesn't go like that, Lewis. I think we all know that footballers, you only got to look at Isak at Newcastle, the way he's behaving. Chris says exactly about Jack Clark. He must be a better player than we are seeing. And I'm still hoping that he can get a bit of a break, and maybe he can get a goal, or he can get a really good assist, and it sets him off, because we know he can play football in this division. We've seen it at Sunderland. But then certain players fit certain teams, and maybe it just doesn't work out. But I'm not writing Jack Clark off yet, like a lot of fans are, because I think he's a really fine footballer. Nathan Broadhead, excellent footballer, some great memories for Town. And if he goes, it'll be really, really sad. It will be. So just going to have to see what happens with that situation. As far as Amari goes, and I'm not sure if everyone's seen the comments after the game where he trained yesterday. Chris says McKenna has a fairly regimented system, as we know, doesn't seem to suit. Terry, good evening, good morning. Ford's not gelling, unfortunately, lots of huff and puff. Aid says Leaf severely restricts Jack Clark's influence. I went into that, I think, on the Saturday sit down, if you want to go back and watch that, when I said when he was at Sunderland, he was a touchline player, whereas at Town, he plays that inside 10. I don't know. Do they not play well together, him and Leaf? I don't know, but we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. But yeah, Amari, Kieran said he trained yesterday, and then he basically said he asked not to play tonight. Didn't think he could contribute. And Kieran's been really, if you listen to McKenna, a lot of empathy. He's a young lad. He's sort of trying to handle the situation. Whereas for me, I think he's had some really bad advice, Amari Hutchinson. You're paid to play football. Get your head down. Go and play. If your move comes about, you get your move. You go back to the Premier League. Lewis says, do you think Amari's being disrespectful? I watched Ali up top again tonight. It's painful. I thought the whole team were poor. At least Jack Clark tried to drive at the defence. Joe says, Ashton must take some of this flack. We haven't recruited well for 18 months. Chris says, Kieran McKenna plays guys out of position. I'm not sure we've always had the best from Smodics. That's another question. You can sign a lot of good players. It doesn't mean they're going to fit into your system. So, yeah, but getting back to Amari, Kieran's trying to sort of protect him a little bit there. I just think he's had some bad advice from, I'm not sure, agent. A lot of these players, they can't make a decision for themselves. They have to be agent-driven. He's pushing for a move to the Premier League, but it all depends who comes in for him. If they pay what Town are asking, which is going to be upward 35, 40 million. Amari didn't really rip it up last season. We took him from Chelsea reserves. We've turned him into the player that he is today. And this is the way that he's repaying us. So, Lewis, bang on. Bad agent. Agent gets a big fee. We all know that the agent gets a big fee when the player moves on. And it is football. It's modern day football. Is it frustrating? Yes, it is. Do we want Amari Hutchinson to play for Town in the Championship? Of course we do, because we know he's a good player, but his head's obviously not in the right place at the minute. Chris says, Amari's issues are driven by agents. It's disappointing because the lad needs to work on his speed of thought, and the Championship is the best place to hone that. Interesting what happens moving forward. I think we've got, 19 days more of the window. Aid says the potential advantage of post-parachute payments and the impact swift acquisitions could have made is disappearing in the rear view mirror. Yeah, look, 19 days to go. And I said it on Saturday when I done my video that this is the sort of hangover from a relegation team from the Premier League. You get your best players get picked apart. Another thing you could say, maybe the window doesn't help. There he is, Elliot the Gamer. Not that disappointed, but I know we need to make some able to push for promotion. Jens in midfield. Sunday with a breath of fresh air. Akpom up top. This is where our season kicks off. Lewis, I think you're pissing in the wind if you think Jens Kajust is going to be starting on Sunday. Not had a pre-season. McKenna never throws players straight in. You know, he needs to build him up. He said that after Birmingham. He said he's seen him for about 15 seconds. I don't think he played on Sunday. He might have to, because I think Matasiwa had a tight groin tonight, so he couldn't play. Chris says the Saints game is worrying me. We could do with an easier opponent to get some momentum. I'm struggling to see how we're going to get 3 points on Sunday. I see they are linked, the Saints, with Jack Radoni from Coventry tonight. I was reading that. He'd be a good signing. I think they won at Northampton 2-0 tonight, the Saints. So they've won two out of two. You know, they've got a little bit of momentum. Town are not gaining any momentum at the minute. But yeah, look, things can soon change. Joe says we just had Bromley. Yes, Town exit the Carabao Cup again at the second round stage. But yeah, not a lot of positives tonight. I'd say the main positives from tonight, I thought Ashley Young, decent at fullback. He's experienced, he knows the ins and outs and he knows what it takes. I thought Ben Johnson was very good second half. He would have been my man of the match. And I thought Finn Barbrook, for his debut, maybe he was being a little bit too safe on the ball sometimes and maybe needs to pass forward, but it's his first game and it's his debut and he's got that out of the way. Chris Wright says, good point, Joe, but we do need to get into the winning habits again, which we haven't had. It wasn't one win this year. I was wrong on my preview. It's 3 because we had 2 wins in the Cup. Bristol Rovers, Coventry, Bournemouth. But we haven't won since Bournemouth. Good evening, good morning, Kev. This is going to be a tougher season than we thought. Don't think Kieran McKenna thought it was going to be simple, but a few weeks later, things can change rapidly. Joe, is that your midfield for Sunday? Humphreys and Taylor, Cameron Humphreys? No, not for me. Good player. If you're looking to get out of this league, he'd be 5th choice for me. But it's all down to Ashton. We can all moan a lot about Kieran, what we've not done and this player should play there, but it's not down to Kieran to get the players into the building that we need. That's down to Mark Ashton, Luke Waring, the people who are in charge of transfers. Kieran will have his targets. I mean, we bid 20 million for Hayden Hackney. It's not as though we're short of cash. Need another midfielder, at least one. Probably need another striker, because I think Akpom will probably play in the 10. Chris says, am I the only one who sensed that Leaf's body language is not normal? I don't know, Chris. I mean, watching in the stadium and watching on TV are 2 very different things, so you might pick up more on the telly. I didn't think he looked any different than normal. Probably just a bit frustrated how things were going, maybe. But look, we need a win. We need a win to settle everybody down. We need a win to give a little bit of momentum in the right way. Aid says we should still be good enough to be top 4 in this division. Lewis says, I got the vibe from Leeds that he looks like he's got one eye on the Prem. He's got no desire to leave the football club. I think if you read his comments last season, you think he sort of thought that he wasn't ready. So I don't see Leif Davis leaving. And we can't afford to lose him. Rock the Gorilla. The worst thing about this game was how we looked like we could be playing this fixture next season. We have injured players, possibly exiting players, and a losing mentality. Let's not say that we're going to be a Luton, because that's not going to happen. We could win Sunday, we could play well, and when I do my video Sunday night, we could have a totally different feeling. We might all be really positive. Everyone's really negative at the minute. Everything's negative. You go on social media, it's negative. We need a win. We need a win to turn it around. We need to build some momentum. It needs to start on Sunday. We all need to get down to Portman Road. We all need to get behind the boys. They need a positive crowd. Chris says, to be fair, this is early teething troubles. The problem is, with the likely points total needed for promotion, we can't afford much of a slump, especially starting badly. I think you only have to look at Burnley and Leeds last year. They didn't start that well. And they got, 100 points? But then you have to build that momentum, and that's what we need. The momentum we had last time we were in this division, it was the way we started, was crazy, But then there wasn't the expectation that there is on the town. Shabby McNally says the elephant in the room is Ali Al-Hamadi. I think it's a bit harsh to keep blaming Ali for everything. It's a team game. We win as a team, we lose as a team. Is he good enough to be playing in the Championship for Town? Probably not. Probably not. He tries his hardest. So Kipre over Greaves. Looks a real giant at the back, Lewis. No, I thought Greaves was really good on Friday. Chris says, we've never been the same since Halaki wasn't renewed. We can't keep going back to these players that have left. Last season in the Premier League, if Halaki had been here, it would have been the same story. We miss him playing out from the back. If you watch the goal on Friday, just go back to Friday, remember the goal that we conceded. So Greaves plays the ball into Alex Palmer. 2 centre-backs split. Taylor, he's the short player. He's where Morty used to be. Palmer should play the ball to Taylor, and then he goes out to the fullback. Instead, he dinks a little ball into the middle, where Jack Clark gets beaten in the air too easy. And then the ball comes back through to the Birmingham player. And the centre-backs are split, so there's a big gap. He goes through, he hits the post, stands and puts it in. So that's where your patterns of play, and you've got to trust. You need to trust. We always had that trust in Sam Morty. When we fired that ball into him, he'd barely lose it. There was the odd time Preston away, he got robbed. Most of the times, he'd get the ball, he'd either go wide or he'd spin, drive out the pitch. James says, Barbrook is in the last year of his contract. What's best for his development? A loan move this season or staying in Town's first team squad? He's only 20 and doesn't take up the squad position yet because of his age. I think he probably... It depends on Cameron Humphreys, because if Cameron Humphreys went out on loan, you could possibly keep Finn to be around the squad as like your 5th midfielder. So maybe. Aid says, just 2 quality midfield signings and all of a sudden things look rosy. Yeah, look, it could all be different in a few weeks' time. I did say Saturday that we won't see the best of this team until after the window's closed and after the first international break. So that's into September. What we do need to do is just get a few results up to that time, starting on Sunday. Then we go to Preston. Then we go to Derby. And then you've got the international break and then you're back. I think it's Sheffield United on a Friday night. I think it's the 12th of September. So by then, you'll have your squad up to speed. You know who's here. You know who's not here for the foreseeable. So anyway, it's way too late. I think the time is now. What is the time? Blimey. It's 1:45. I've got to be up in 3 hours. I need to go to bed. I feel not that tired. I will be in the morning. I know that. I feel quite hoarse. Didn't do a lot of shouting tonight because I was in the Bromley, so it was a little bit weird. Anyway, Chris says, I think it's true that a cool head is needed for now. The problem is we are seeing the same inability to win that we got used to last season. Definitely. You're in that losing funk at the minute and you need to get out of it. And maybe it's like you look at Leicester and Southampton over the weekend. They didn't play amazingly in them 2 games. Wrexham had the better chances than Saints. Saints score a worldie of a free kick. Still think the goalie should do better to get beat from there. They score a 94th minute winner. Leicester are losing 1-0. They get an equaliser. They get a red card for the opposition. They score a late winner. So they've managed to win them games, and they've got a win on the board. Whereas Sunday, we turn up against Southampton. We all want the Town to play well. It might not take a good performance to beat them. You might somehow just scrape over the line with a 2-1 win and you get a late goal. Southampton, there's always late goals. Sarmiento, Sam Morsey. Southampton last year at Portman Road. So be prepared for some late drama. So you might not have to put on the best performance to get a result. It's just grinding them out. The Championship, we know what the champ's like. It's a very unforgiving league. So, yeah. But there's a lot of time between now and Sunday, We could have another couple of players in the building. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody, from wherever you are. Chris, overseas, everyone else in this country. If you're watching back, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. I'm off to bed. I'll be up in 3 hours. But just keep the faith. It's very early in the season, Lots of things can change very quickly, but we just need a win. Hopefully it'll come Sunday. And yeah, I will see you all probably Friday, sometime Friday. It might be Saturday when I do my Southampton preview. Probably be Saturday because I'm off to Essex on Friday. Going to watch cricket down there. So yeah, sleep well. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.